Hello, everybody. I'm a little bit late and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Today was a weird day and I don't know if it was a weird day for anybody else or just me. I'm not sure. It's almost 7 o'clock here and I woke up at like 4:30 this morning and we did our thing, dropped Logan off. Noah stayed home today. He was not feeling real amazing. He's got a tooth coming in, which is like total nasal drainage he's got going on. So poor kid. So he stayed home with mom today and talked to Ricky this morning. He was doing really good. He talked without the speaking cap on this morning, and the respiratory therapist was like, talk again. And he's like, I'm talking to my wife. And she goes, yeah, but you're talking and you don't even have a talking cap on. So she was like, how the heck am I hearing you right now? And so she was like shocked that he could force the air through his vocal cords even without that flap on. So she was like, holy cow. So that was super funny. And so I got to talk to him this morning, and then I took his Bible and his Bible study stuff out and some pencils and pens and stuff. He still doesn't have the grip yet. But he's going to try and work on that. But he said, I've been getting up at like 3:30 every morning and I need to be reading the word. Can you please bring it to me? And I was like, yes, sir, I can bring it to you. So I brought his Bible and his Bible study stuff and all of that kind of stuff. I took it all out to the hospital today. Lots of people ask, can I see him? And I can't see him. We can't visit him. The only time we will be able to see him before he comes home will be when I go to physical therapy to learn how to help him when he comes home. So I won't be able to do that at this point, not yet anyway. But I'm okay with that. I don't care. I will video chat him until the cows come home. It's fine. But at a little after 5 o'clock, I got a phone call from the hospital and I'm like, oh God. And they decided to play a trick on me. His nurse and Ricky devised a plan. Buttheads. So his nurse, Brandon, calls me and he's like, hey, it's Brandon from ICU. And I said, hey, Brandon. Brandon's been his nurse for the last like 4 or 5 days straight. And so he's like, so we had an altercation. We had to call security. It got really bad. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean an altercation? Like, what? He goes, I'm just kidding. I was like, oh my God, why are y'all trying to give me a freaking heart attack? Like, this wasn't bad enough. You had to call me and tell me he's had an altercation and security had to be called. Oh my God. I was just like, what? He goes, sorry. I'm so sorry. He goes, but Ricky said I had to play a joke on you. So that's what we came up with. I'm like, I'm going to kick both your butts. I'm like, you're lucky I can't get in that hospital. Brandon started laughing so hard. He's like, when I tell my wife, because they're travel nurses, him and his wife both travel together and do these locations, and he's like, when I tell my wife, she's gonna kill me. I was like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but he wanted to call me and update me because Ricky has been moved out of intensive ICU. So he's still on a different ICU floor, but he's not in like ICU, right? So he's completely off the ventilator. They still have the trach in for a little bit longer, but he's completely breathing on his own. He is getting extra, right? That's Ricky. I know, right? Oh my gosh. He's such a punk. So he's completely off the ventilator. He's just getting oxygen through his trach, just extra oxygen, which honestly, even when the trach's gone, he'll probably have to have oxygen for a little bit longer anyway, just to make sure he's getting good oxygen. But y'all, he passed his barium study this morning. He passed it. and they let him eat. He's on a regular diet. He does still have the feeding tube in because, you know, he's not so used to eating. And so they're like,
Mama,
he still needs, okay, he still needs, okay, he still needs, some extra nutrition. So they do still have his peg tube in his stomach, plus also to give him meds and stuff. But he's eating on his own. Brandon was like, he was so freaking excited. And if you know my husband, the man can eat, okay? He can eat. And so he said for lunch, he goes, now keep in mind, he's had COVID, right? He's completely COVID free now. They've tested him a couple times. He's completely COVID free. But, he said, but because of COVID, he doesn't have, his taste is all out of whack. He goes, but he had meatloaf, mashed potatoes, apple pie, and ice cream for lunch. And I was like, oh my gosh. He goes, he didn't eat all of it. He goes, but the fact that he could eat it was just, he was like in heaven. He goes, I don't know what he's eating for dinner because they moved him to the other floor, but he said lunch was super good. So, that was just, oh, you guys, today was such a weird day. And that's how I knew something was coming. Because every time something big is coming where, like, I have to be prepared, God says rest. He just says rest. And he physically makes me exhausted. Like, whoosh. Like, I got home from taking that stuff to the hospital and I literally laid down on the couch and passed out. So I knew something was coming, but I didn't know I just didn't know what it was. And so, I woke up from my, like, pass out session, at, like, what time was it? 3:30, I think, when the kids got home. And so, they called a little after 5:15. So it was like perfect timing. I don't know how much, somebody asked, how much weight has he lost? I don't know. So he went in at 235. He at one point was 216 pounds, but then he swelled up so bad that you couldn't really tell what was happening because he was so swollen. Noah, please. Hey, stop, please. So I don't know exactly. Do y'all get to see him now? We will not be at the visiting things has not changed. There will be no visiting him at the hospital. Absolutely none at all. That just is across the board. They do not have any visitors in the hospital just because COVID with the variant is just rapid. And so they were like, no visitors whatsoever. So I won't physically get to see him, until right before he comes home. So right before he comes home, they will call me to go down to physical therapy and, learn how to, like, transfer him and how to help him when he gets home. So that's when I will get to see him. Otherwise, we're more than happy video chatting right now and just getting him well and bringing him home. So it is what it is. Yeah, the only time you could go into a hospital is if it is a child in the PICU, or excuse me, in the NICU, or if someone is getting ready to pass away. Those are normally the only two times you can go in, at least here in Washington. It's different. I know another lady whose husband's in ICU on a ventilator doing all the things, and she can actually go in and see him every day, but she's in Texas. I cannot, which actually I kind of think it's a good thing. I think that me not seeing him, especially when he was very sick, was actually a good thing for me. Just saying. So yeah, so much good news. I think I missed a question. My cousin RJ is still in ICU on ventilator. He really helped. Oh, he's gonna get better. He's gonna get better. It takes a long time. Just keep making sure whoever is like checking on him, whoever his proxy is, that you're writing everything down and you're double checking, like make sure they're giving him the right medication. Make sure they're not making changes without asking someone, because it can get kind of crazy. Google what the if you don't know what the prescription is, Google what it is and what it does. If you have questions about it, message me. I will be happy to answer anything that I can. We don't have an updated timeline yet for him to come home. I could cry right now. Believe me, I don't have any tears left, y'all. There's no salt left in this body. No, I'm just kidding. Let me know. Of course, yes. I will let you know. Praise God. Yes. It's so crazy to watch, even if I go back. I was thinking about this when the nurse called yesterday and she said, when he comes home, and there's a difference when people call now and they say when he comes home versus when they would call before and it was always, we're hoping for the best, or we're moving in the right direction. There was never the word coming home attached to any of their sentences. And I think that's probably like the hardest thing, especially on families, is because we just want to know that this pain and suffering is going to go for something and we're going to bring them home. And so that I think is definitely like the hardest part. But when they called me yesterday and she was like, when he comes home, he's going to need somebody pretty much around 24/7. Is that something you can accommodate? And I was like, yes, I work from home. I am a stay-at-home, work from home mom. Like, I can take care of him. Like, oh my God. Y'all, 3 years ago, I had a Monday through Friday, like 50 to 60 hour a week job that I went to, that if this happened 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to take care of him. I don't know what we would have done. I don't know if that means he's got to stay in a rehab facility until he's 100% healed, or I don't know what that means. But I know that God intervened when he saw an opening and he said, here is what you're going to do. And he slammed that door shut when I got let go in March. And I was like freaking out, and he was like, it's okay. It's going to all work out. And now I see why it was going to all work out. I had to be home to take care of Ricky. Like, I had to have this job, doing this work, making an income from home, so I could be here to take care of him. Like, this whole thing started 3 years ago. I have faith in that. This whole plan of what he knew was coming happened 3 years ago when he started putting it into place. So when Ricky wrote that thing on the refrigerator, what happened, and it couldn't have happened any other way, because it didn't, because it wasn't God's plan. It wasn't God's plan for any other way for this to work. It wasn't God's plan for me to be at a 9 to 5 when Ricky got sick. It was like, it's so many little teeny tiny pieces that now I can look back and go, holy crap, that was so not even what I was thinking it was. It was crazy. So right now he will be going to an in-person rehab because he's gonna need a lot of rehab. So he did stand up on his own today with no assistance, but at least for the next couple weeks, he needs a lot of rehab. I'm not talking like an hour of rehab. I'm talking a lot of rehab. We've got to still strengthen his lungs. He still can't do this with his hands. He can do this, but it's not like, he kind of has to think about it. And his legs are just, they're not where they're supposed to be. So I think the reason why she said that we needed somebody to take care of him 24/7 is just because, like, you know how, like, when you get in the shower and you get hot and you get, like, faint? Well, think about that when you've been on blood thinners and haven't been on your own 2 feet in a month. You can't shower alone, right? I mean, never mind. I'm going to make myself blush. Anyway, so things like that, you know, he's not going to be able to walk up and down the stairs. He's, at least at first. Yeah, that's why he wants me to rest now, for sure. I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to work. So crazy. But yeah, it's just been, y'all, when I talked to that nurse on Sunday and she was like, it's going to be probably Christmas and it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks. It's so crazy to see how fast God moves and how fast God goes, oh no, no. You don't understand. He needs to come home. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. It's like, yes, get them to have when he comes home to blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we will get all of the stuff. Yeah, the shower chair. I'm sure we'll have a belt and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure we're gonna have to get all of that kind of stuff. We'll get ready. I'm not gonna let him come home without being ready for him. So I had to take care of my husband. It's been 8 months. It's still not 100%. Yeah. I thankfully Ricky just turned 42 the day before he went into the hospital. So he's young and he's super, super crazy strong. And that's the one thing that everybody just says is, that he's just so strong. And I'm like, well, yeah. Yeah, it explains the naps he told me to take for sure. Shower chair will be helpful. Yes. And a walker with a seat. Yeah. I think he's kind of already using a walker or no, not a walker. They have a commode in his room. We're talking about like the most private person when it comes to like his pooping habits. He has to like have his own bathroom, like nobody else can use his bathroom, and he's got to have the fan on and everybody like away from the bathroom and all this stuff. The poor man, before he could get out of bed, before he was actually able to go to the bathroom, he would have to get changed. And oh my Lanta, he would get so mad and he'd be like, ugh! I'm like, babe, it's okay. It's understandable. Like, they understand. He's like, I feel bad for the people who have to change my bedding and change me all the time. And I was like, here's the thing. They're used to it because that's what they do all day long. I said, but they know that you don't want to be like this either. I was like, so he's like, ah. Oh. So yeah, he's not in the, so when I called to talk to him tonight after he moved rooms, the lady still answered it ICU, but Brandon, his nurse, when he called me, said he's not in the ICU. So I think there's like a separate like wing of ICU that Ricky's in now, where it's not like it's not somebody with you 24/7. It's probably more like on your own kind of thing. I don't know. But anyway, Brandon said he's no longer in ICU. He's not on the ventilator anymore. He just uses the trach for extra oxygen. So yeah, like a step down unit. Yeah. He was on the 6th floor in ICU before. Now he's on the 5th floor. So I'm like, if he can, we get down to the 1st floor and then we're out. Just kidding. I don't know. So I'm hoping that we can get him into the inpatient therapy before the end of the week. Because if we can get him into the inpatient therapy, he is going to he's just going to be running after those nurses. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, come get your husband. No privacy or secrets in ICU. Yeah, there was definitely no secrets for him for almost a month. There was not an orifice on his body that was. Anyway, okay, let me do our devotion. And then I will let you go to sleep. Have your peaceful dreams. Because it's late, y'all. It's 7:15 here. What the heck? I am late. So today is October 6th, and my devotion says, learn from me. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Are you freaking kidding me? Okay. I hear you. Perhaps it's morning when you are reading this. Your day is just beginning, yet your heart is already heavy. Or maybe it's the end of the day and you feel awakened by the burdens you have taken on. Not awakened. Let me read that again. Or maybe it's the end of the day and you feel weakened by the burdens you have taken on. Rest in the kindest person there ever was. Rest in the kindest person there ever was. Let his words soothe and strengthen you. Perhaps you have taken on more. Let's try again. Perhaps you have taken on more than what God is asking you to, physically or emotionally. Christ himself makes it clear that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. If your yoke is too heavy, perhaps you aren't supposed to be carrying it in the first place. Learn from Jesus. Refusing wrong yokes won't necessarily feel natural to you, but ask and learn. As you do, he will strengthen your ability to know the difference, so you might enjoy his rest. Jesus, help me learn from you and rest in you. I don't want to carry any yokes that you aren't asking me to. Give me wisdom and discernment as I walk into each new day. It's a timely verse for sure, right? He told me today to rest, and he made it abundantly clear because I passed. And so, he made it abundantly clear that I need to rest because something is coming. Whether that was the news I got this afternoon, or whether that's what's coming in the upcoming days and weeks. There you go. I had 9:50. I read this earlier in an online talk show. I actually tried to send it to you. It was a podcast. Oh, really? That's awesome. Yeah, people are like, oh, I think he'll be home by Halloween. And then I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe even before that. I'm just like, what is happening? It's happening so fast. And I know now that he can eat, y'all, that man is going to be like Hulk pretty soon. So crazy. Anyway, this is his devotion. So this is Ricky's. This is Ricky's devotion. It says, peacocks and their kin. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 7 through 10. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Male peacocks are resplendent creatures. I don't know what that word means. I'm going to have to look it up. Somebody tell me. Male peacocks are resplendent creatures with iridescent blue-green plumage and elongated trains tipped with eyes colored in hues of gold, red, and blue. They are strikingly beautiful birds, but they have ugly feet. We raised peacocks when I was younger. They do have ugly feet. To be honest, most of us have some type of physical limitation. It may be something we've borne all our lives, or one we've recently acquired. Paul described his deficiency as a thorn in my flesh that kept him humble. 3 times he asked the Lord to remove it, but the Lord assured him, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Paul replied, therefore I will boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. One of the ironies of faith is that God often chooses us to accomplish his most important tasks despite our imperfections. Hudson Taylor said, God was looking for someone weak enough to use, and he found you and me. When we find our strength in him, He can use us in ways we could never imagine. Wow. I needed that like 30 days ago. What? Holy smokes. You know, when this all first happened, I was freaking out. I mean, I walked my husband into the ICU or into the emergency room, and 6 hours later, the hospital called and said he's on a ventilator and medically paralyzed. Like 6 hours later, my world, like, it was like quicksand going through my hand. I was like, I couldn't catch it. And my first inkling was, oh my God, why? Why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why do we have to go through this? Why does our family have to go through this? And it took me 12 hours, maybe, I think, to realize, why not me? Why not me? I had faith, and you only have to have faith as small as a mustard seed, right? And as long as you held on to that faith every single minute, it would be okay. But I know there are people that would have gotten so angry at God and would have asked why, and wouldn't have accepted, like, it's going to be okay. We just have to walk through this season. And so if you're asking why you, why now, there's something coming. There's a reason. And it could be literally to stretch you. It doesn't feel good to be stretched. I'm telling you right now. It does not feel good to be stretched. But once you're limber and you can move a little bit more liquidy, you'll never want to be back where you were. Like, I can see God in everything now. Like, I would before, but now it's like every single thing oh, yep, God did that. Oh, yeah, that was a God thing. My nap, that was a God thing. Like, he made me so tired that I couldn't open my eyes. And so if you're in that place right now and you're like, oh, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Ask, why not? I know that's not a fun question to ask. But for me, it ended up because I had enough faith, just enough faith to keep going when I know some people wouldn't have. And I had enough faith to share it, because I know there's lots and lots of people who are still reeling from this. She has 3 small children. And see, and there's people still asking for prayers because there's still people passing away. April Connie passed away and she has 3 small kids. See, that just breaks my heart, because it's an awful, awful, awful thing. It's an awful thing. And I know for a fact that if it wasn't for the amount of, like, literally around the world, people are praying for Ricky and for our family. And I know for a fact if that hadn't happened, we would have had a completely different outlook, I think. We would have had a completely different outcome. Which sucks. Yes, thank you, Jesus, for putting your arms around Ricky. Yeah, it's just crazy. And I am, like, I can tell you my story. I mean, you guys have been following me from day one. I can't wait for Ricky to tell you what he's going through and what he went through and what he felt and what he heard, because there's some stuff now he's only told me bits and pieces, and he's still a little confused. For a long time, he thought he was in Shelton, which is way down south from where we are. I'm like, you're not in Shelton, you're in Tacoma. He's like, well, when did I get here? I'm like, you've been there since you first got put in the hospital. And he's like, no, I was in Shelton. I'm like, no, you have been at Tacoma General the entire time in ICU room 625. So he's in like a step down ICU. Like he's not in ICU, like he's not in like critical care. He's like in the step down. He's not on the ventilator anymore. He still has the trach. But he's eating. He passed his swallow test, so he's on regular food. He ate, what'd Brandon say he ate? He ate meatloaf, mashed potatoes, apple pie, and ice cream for lunch today. So he is definitely on the mend. He's on the mend. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for listening to all my jibber jabber and our devotions and our prayer requests. Y'all are amazing. If you do need prayer requests, if you have family or yourself that needs prayer requests, please drop it in the comments below. Y'all know that I've got a following that prays like no other without ceasing. And prayers can move mountains. If you haven't seen it, just watch our story for a little bit longer. If you haven't seen it, go back to September 8th and watch from the beginning, because prayers move mountains and Jesus is here and ready to show off. Like he wants to show up. He wants to show off. He just needs an audience. So let's give him that audience. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for hopping on. Thank you so much for all the prayers and well wishes, because holy cow, y'all just, it's crazy. But I love you all. I've got to, apparently we're going to make snow cones. I don't know. And I actually do have to make dinner. So I love you all. I appreciate you all. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Sleep well.